Nothing has happened yet, the desk looks the same, the task list looks the same. But a headline just landed, and the quiet feeling underneath it does not go away when you close the tab. Your job probably will not vanish overnight. It gets redesigned, task by task, until barely any of the original role is left. By the end, you will have a 4-part skill buffer to build before that happens. Globally, close to 40% of jobs are exposed to AI-driven change. In richer economies, that share climbs closer to 60%. A bigger paycheck does not automatically mean a safer job description. Exposure is not a death sentence. Of those exposed roles, roughly half could actually be helped by AI tools. The other half carry real displacement risk. Which half you land in depends on the skills around the job, not the job title alone. Curious Neighbor asks the obvious thing: is your job actually safe, or does it just feel safe because nothing has changed yet? That is an uncomfortable question, and it is the right one to sit with. Here is the reframe. The danger is rarely a company announcing your role is gone. It is a slower redesign, one task automated, one report generated, one meeting shortened, until the job barely resembles what you were hired for. Redesign looks boring from the inside, drafting gets faster, data gets summarized automatically, scheduling runs itself. None of it feels like a layoff, it just quietly shrinks the list of things only you can do. Think of this like insurance. You do not build a skill buffer because disaster is guaranteed. You build it because the cost of being wrong about your own safety is high, and the cost of preparing is manageable. A skill buffer has 4 layers. Tool fluency, judgment work, portable proof, adjacent role range. None of them require quitting your job or becoming a programmer overnight. Layer 1 is tool fluency. The vibe is comfort, not mastery. You do not need to build AI systems. You need to use the tools your industry is adopting well enough that you are not the person still doing everything by hand. The trade-off is small, repeated time, not a certificate, not a boot camp. Just enough practice that when your workplace adopts a new tool, you are already halfway fluent instead of starting cold with everyone else. The hurdle is collecting tool names without proof of use. Listing a tool on a resume means little. Being able to describe one real problem you solved with it means a lot more in an interview. Layer 2 is judgment work. The vibe is being the person who decides what the output means, not just the person who produces it. AI can draft. It cannot always tell you which draft actually fits the client, the budget, or the moment. The trade-off is slowing down on purpose. Judgment takes context, memory of past mistakes, and a willingness to disagree with a confident-sounding output. That is harder to fake than fast typing. The hurdle is rubber stamping instead of judging. If you only forward what the tool produces without adding a real decision, you have not built judgment. You have built a slightly faster copy-paste habit. Layer 3 is portable proof. The vibe is having something you can show, not just claim. A short write-up of a real result travels further in an interview than a long list of responsibilities. The trade-off is documentation most people skip. Writing down what you actually did and what changed because of it takes deliberate time. Most careers lose this proof simply because nobody ever wrote it down. The hurdle is keeping proof buried where only your employer can see it. A performance review locked in one company's system does not help you in a different interview. Portable proof needs to leave the building with you. Layer 4 is adjacent role range. The vibe is knowing which nearby roles your current skills could reach before you need to reach them. Not a total career change, a short, realistic hop. The trade-off is occasional discomfort. Looking honestly at nearby roles means noticing gaps in your own resume before you are forced to. That sting is far cheaper now than during an actual job search under pressure. The hurdle is identity attachment to one title. If your whole sense of career safety rests on staying exactly where you are, adjacent range never gets built, and options quietly shrink without you noticing. Here is the middle turn. Seniority feels like safety. But seniority built entirely on one narrow set of tasks can be more exposed than a junior role that already uses modern tools daily. Years of experience only protect you if the underlying tasks still matter. A tall pillar resting on a narrow, unchanged base is not stability. It is a role waiting for its own redesign notice. Think about how you already treat other risks. You pay a small premium for car insurance you may never use, because the alternative cost is too high to gamble on. A weekly hour on the skill buffer works the same way, so pause on this privately. Which of the 4 layers, tool fluency, judgment work, portable proof, or adjacent range, is genuinely thin in your own career right now, not the one you assume is thin? Early career workers often have tool fluency by default, but thin portable proof. The fix is smaller here. Document real projects early, before years pass and the useful details fade from memory. Mid-career workers often carry strong judgment, but thin adjacent role range. The fix is a deliberate look sideways, not a leap, which nearby roles would value the judgment you already have. Workers closer to retirement often have deep judgment and a long history, but proof scattered across old formats. The fix is smaller than a full reinvention. Translate a few recent wins into a short, current summary. Now the sober part. The skill buffer is not a guarantee. It changes your odds. It does not remove risk, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. Employers themselves report the gap. 63% cite skills gaps as a major barrier to adapting their workforce. And by 2030, 39% of core skills across today's jobs are expected to change. Waiting quietly is not a neutral choice. This is not only a story of loss. Around 170 million new jobs are projected by 2030, against 92 million displaced, a net gain near 78 million. But new jobs rarely go to people who did nothing to prepare for them. Trap 1 is assuming your industry is the exception. Almost every industry has said this at some point, right before the redesign reached them too. Exposure spreads unevenly, but it rarely spares an entire field completely. Trap 2 is treating one course as a finished project. A single certificate is a starting point, not a buffer. Tools and expectations keep shifting, so the buffer needs light, ongoing maintenance, not a one-time purchase. Trap 3 is waiting for your employer to announce a plan. Some will, many will not, or will move too slowly. The buffer belongs to you personally, whether or not your workplace ever formalizes anything. Trap 4 is confusing being busy with being buffered. Long hours at your current tasks do not automatically build tool fluency, judgment, proof, or range. Busy and buffered are different things, and only one of them protects you later. Skip the buffer long enough, and one skipped update becomes a stalled task list, then a harder job search, then fewer nearby doors when you finally need one. Small neglect compounds quietly, the same way small savings do. The practical move is not mastering all 4 layers this month. It is naming the thinnest one and strengthening it first. A buffer is built in order, not all at once. Write 4 lines tonight, tool fluency. Judgment work, portable proof. Adjacent range. Circle the one that is genuinely weakest, not the one that is easiest to admit. If tool fluency is weakest, block 20 minutes a week practicing the specific tool your industry is already adopting. Small and repeated beats, occasional and ambitious. If judgment is weakest, start noting the real calls you make that a tool could not have made alone. That habit builds the evidence you will need later, and it sharpens the judgment itself. If portable proof is weakest, write 1 page about a real project this month, what you did, what changed, and 1 number if you have it. Keep the copy somewhere only you control. If adjacent range is weakest, find 2 nearby roles and read the requirements honestly. You are not job hunting yet, you are finding out which door is closer than you assumed. Progress here is slow on purpose. Name the gap in month 1. Build a weekly habit in month 2. Produce 1 proof document in month 3. Recheck all 4 layers by month 6. Recheck the buffer after role changes, not only on a fixed schedule. A promotion, a new manager, a restructure, or a new company-wide tool can quietly shift which layer is thinnest, even if nothing about you has changed. You are not behind because your job might be exposed. Almost every job is, to some degree. You are early if you start the buffer now, instead of waiting for the redesign notice to arrive first. That is the whole difference between the person who scrambles and the person who barely notices. That headline will keep showing up, month after month, in one form or another. The difference is what sits beside your desk when it does, a buffer you actually built, not a hope that your role stays untouched. Build the skill buffer before the redesign reaches you, not after. Subscribe to this channel for more clear money and career steps like this.